Part 38. Fantasy, Me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 371. Destiny. Outside the Tianji Tower, Emperor Hades has regained his former demeanor, and his proud body is once again shrouded in a layer of fog. Only a pair of eyes, with a hint of majesty, are very cold, and reject people thousands of miles away. She looked back at the Tianji Tower at a glance. She both believed and disbelieved what the master of Tianji said just now. The reason why she believed it was because the sentence came from the master of Tianji. A person who could spy on Tianji, there was no need to deceive her. After all, this relationship she believes in the prestige of the Tianji Tower. If she doesn't believe it, it's because she believes that man can defeat heaven. She can escape from the control of heaven. Since the owner of Tianji said that this emperor will become an immortal within a year, I want to see if things develop like this. The jade slip appeared in the hand of Emperor Ming. The opportunity recorded in it is not elsewhere, but in the earthly immortal world. She only needs to return to the earthly immortal world, take out this opportunity, and then go to her imperial palace to become an immortal. The whole process costs nothing at all. It won't take long. Not to mention a year. It won't even take half a year. All cultivators compete with God for their destiny. The word destiny is just a rumor. Most of those who deduce the secret of heaven are like this. Emperor Hades muttered to himself. The words have not yet finished. She moved lightly, planning to leave Dawang City. But just as she lifted her steps, a jade slip in the storage ring suddenly lit up. She turned her palm over and the jade slip appeared in her palm. One of the messages appears. The first time she saw this news, she frowned inadvertently. The sky-shattering sword appears. Underworld Emperor raised his head and looked into the void. There were several lists hanging there. On the list of Emperor's soldiers, the three words Zhentian sword suddenly came into view. Originally, there were no two words behind the owner of the Zhentian sword, but now these two words, I don't know when, have disappeared. Replaced by the four words Emperor Unai. At the same time. Zixuanja. Buzz. The void roared. Like a rag, it was violently shaken by someone. Countless star fields were affected. The whole world seemed like a big earthquake. Billions of stars were trembling in the void, as if under the influence of rain. It will be broken in 1 second. At this moment, countless creatures in the purple mystic realm and the creatures in the earthly immortal realm were alarmed. Looking from a distance, red clouds towered into the sky, and an ancient sword that reached the sky and the earth spread in the void, like it was a sky curtain, covering it, blooming with countless rays of brilliance. Do not look directly at it. It was like a king of swords resurrected. From the moment the sword appeared in the world, thousands of swords surrendered, the swordsmanship flourished, and countless swords in the world Shiu, his expression was excited for it. Shocking. These two words, like blessings to the soul, suddenly appeared in the hearts of all the creatures in the Zixuan realm. I am afraid that the only one with such power is the heaven-shaking sword on the imperial weapon list. Can be created. The imperial power spreads rapidly like a tide, and an unimaginable pressure enveloped countless star fields in an instant. No one can resist. Even the army of the earthly immortal realm that is attacking the purple Xian realm, at the same time, they knelt down on the ground. Many monks trembled in their souls and couldn't help but worship. This was completely involuntary, as if they were facing a god, full of natural awe. Different from the creatures in the purple Xian realm. On the side of the earthly immortal realm, many people looked frightened. They struggled to get up and wanted to deliver the message, but the moment they took out the jade slip, they were directly wiped into powder by a ray of sword light. Only a few people delivered the message. Go out. The sky-shattering sword appears. Did the great emperor of my Zixuan realm get it? In one of the imperial clans, there were creatures that were shocked and showed signs of surprise. This breath, it's him. Unai. On the Emperor's battlefield, there was a blood-stained Emperor. He was wearing a robe, his hair was disheveled, and he was seriously injured. The moment he saw the ancient sword, an astonishing brilliance bloomed in his eyes. Because he knew that the Zixuan realm reinforcements are coming. The far end of the horizon. An ancient chariot drove over, rolling through the void, rumbling and roaring, and the stars swaying, as if an ancient emperor was traveling and ruling the world. On the chariot, a tall man sat cross-legged. He was wearing a purple gold crown and an imperial robe. His true appearance could not be seen clearly. His hair was full of long hair, scattered around his chest and back. In his eyes, there was a scene of the destruction of stars. Emperor Unai was sitting on the chariot, with an ancient sword lying across his knees. The peerless energy shocked the 9 layers of heaven. This was the body of the sky-shattering sword. Before leaving the body, terrifying visions bloomed. Earthly immortal realm. Emperor Unai stood up slowly and spoke 3 words from his mouth. It was only 3 words, but it was shocking. The entire star field where he was located trembled 3 times, overwhelming the 3 realms and 6 realms, and filled the bullfight with anger. Before stepping into the Tianji Tower, he had already expected that the earthly immortal realm would launch a conquest against the Zixuan realm. But what he didn't expect was that he had only stepped into the burial immortal land for a few days, and the Zixuan realm had already been reduced to 1/3. Because half of the Zixuan realm was about to fall into the hands of the creatures from the earthly immortal realm. The speed of this fall was beyond his expectation. If he had arrived a few days later, the consequences would have been disastrous. It might have been disastrous. The purple mystic realm will cease to exist. The Zixuan realm is not a place where you can come and leave as you please. Emperor Unai stood up, put his hand on the hilt of the sky-shattering sword, held it with 5 fingers, and pulled out the sword an inch. With a clang, the sound of gold and iron clashing shocked the past and present. A flash of crimson brilliance illuminated the starry sky for hundreds of millions of miles. The power of the sky-shattering sword was fully resurrected at this moment, displaying a terrifying majesty. The dazzling red light of the sword was like a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood, spreading out, emitting eternal brilliance, and the endless battlefield are all shrouded in it. This is the true godless soldier. Every ray of pressure makes the quasi-emperor tremble and the emperor is frightened. No matter how far away they are, it will make people kneel to the ground. Each wisp the sword light burst out, dimming the sun, the moon, and the stars in the sky. Except for the imperial soldiers at the top of the list, there were no other weapons at all. Compared with this weapon, there was nothing in front of it. Brilliant at all. Emperor Unai. Is he going to take action against the earthly immortal realm? There are many creatures in the purple mystic realm who have survived from desperate situations. The moment they saw the figure of Emperor Unai, they almost cried with joy. At the most desperate moment. Fortunately, Emperor Unai came back. By the way, he also brought back he defeated the sky-shattering sword. There is no news more exciting than this. Cut. A soft drink. There was no ripple in the voice, but it shocked the whole world. The moment the words fell, the most brilliant light came out, and the most dazzling light shined on the past and future. The sky-shattering sword was unsheathed, and Emperor Unai took action. In this world, within the imperial realm, it can be called the strongest attack, sweeping across the 8 desolations and Liuhi. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 372. Clang. The sound of the sword was like a tsunami, deafening, tearing through the sky. The boundless sword light spread out, stretching for countless miles, with no end in sight. Just like Wan Yang, it swept across the world. Boom. The universe is like a mat. With one sword, everything is wiped out and nothing exists anymore. In the huge Zixuan realm, there are countless stars that disappear between the sky and the earth. The creatures from the earthly immortal realm that cross the realm are unknown. How many people fell under this sword? As death approached, they turned into ashes without even uttering a scream. Large tracts of star fields dimmed. The entire universe became silent. The heaven and earth were completely silent. It's so dark that you can't see your fingers. It almost makes people think that they are standing in the sea of stars. When they turn around and look around, there is nothing. The stars and creatures have all disappeared. The Zixuan world lost its voice. The earthly immortal world was horrified. They were all frightened. After Emperor Unai returned, he took out his first sword and directly leveled several star fields, using the light of the sword as the dividing point. Countless star fields were extinguished. Just this sword is enough to make many forces in the earthly immortal world fearful. To know. In the earthly immortal world, the emperor is not a cabbage on the street. Many forces do not have an emperor at all. Facing this sword, they have no power to resist. It is not an exaggeration to say that the entire sect was destroyed. When death is imminent, do you still have to fight like a trapped beast? On the other side, a cold voice penetrated the void and spread loudly. A powerful man covered in black armor appeared, with mist and fierce flames rising into the sky. He was riding on a huge divine tiger. This tiger, the whole body is hairless and covered with scales. It shines with a cold metallic luster and has an indestructible texture. Buzz. The man stretched out one hand, held it in the air, and a black halberd turned into a black thunderbolt on the horizon, coming through the clouds and the moon. Boom! The great halberd came to the world, and it was dark and sinister. A ray of breath could crack the heavens and shatter billions of stars, making people shudder. He held the great halberd, like a god of war resurrected, with boundless power, shaking the sky and suppressing the 9 netherworlds. He didn't care about the dead creatures in the earthly immortal realm. The only thing that made him feel shameless was that someone actually dared to take action against his subordinates under his nose. But he hadn't blocked it just now. Wanted the only way to wash away the stain is with the blood of the other party. Who are you? Emperor Unai stood on the chariot, his eyes were very deep. Earthly immortal realm, Fuun mountain, Yama demon. The man spoke. There was a kind of unparalleled domineering in his voice, which made everyone in the world scream. Under the pressure, everyone surrendered and trembled non-stop. It's Emperor Yama. Very far away. Some reinforcements from the earthly immortal realm are still arriving. They have just escaped a disaster. When they heard these words, they felt a bit of anticipation in their hearts. In the earthly immortal realm, Emperor Yama, in terms of reputation, maybe he can't compare to Emperor Hades. But he's not an ordinary person either. This is Fuun Mountain, a long-established emperor. It is said that it was this emperor who contributed to the downfall of the Fang clan. In the decisive battle between the Fang clan, he personally killed an emperor of the Fang clan and conveniently buried hundreds of thousands of Fang clan members. It can be said that he was extremely cruel. With the countless foundations of the Fang clan, Fuun Mountain can be said to have reached a higher level. And as the main initiator of this campaign, Emperor Yan Mo has gained a lot. Although he has not stepped on the god list, countless people are speculating that he may be the 11th person on the emperor list. And Emperor Unai is 10th on the emperor ranking. The gap between the two is almost so small that it can be ignored. Very good. Emperor Yama is here. It seems that there is no chance of winning in the Zixuan realm. One sword wiped out countless creatures in the immortal realm. Emperor Unai of the Purple Xian realm must pay the price for this. Yes, several great emperors have fallen in Zixuan realm in the past few days, not least Emperor Unai. It's hard to say. On the emperor list of Tianji Tower, Emperor Yunai is ranked 10th, but Emperor Yan Mo is not on the list. There is already a gap in strength between the two. In addition, the sky-shattering sword of Zixuan realm has also been released, which is just right. Fell into the hands of Emperor Yunai. So what? The number of great emperors in the earthly immortal realm is not comparable to that of the Zixuan realm. The creatures in the earthly immortal realm were talking to each other, and there was a lot of resentment mixed in their eyes as they looked into the void. Emperor Yunai just wiped out countless people with his sword, and many of them were their elders. Those people just came one step ahead of time. Result: I came here a few days early, and now we are separated forever. When countless living beings are talking about it. The direction of the earthly immortal realm. Once again, two terrifying auras rose into the sky, like a volcano erupting, reaching 9 levels into the sky, shattering the clouds in the sky. Two terrifying figures stepped forward in the void. These two people stood beside Emperor Yama, causing the void to shatter, turning the heaven and earth into ashes, and a terrifying aura filled the air, penetrating the past, present, and future. This moment, both the creatures in the purple mystic realm and the creatures in the earthly immortal realm are retreating rapidly. They understood that another great emperor battlefield was about to be opened. This time is different from before. Emperor Yunai is already considered the true foundation of Zixuan realm. If Emperor Yunai can be kept here, it will be an unprecedented blow to Zixuan realm. Once Emperor Yunai falls. In the Zixuan realm, the only trump card left is Emperor Bai Li. As long as they deal with this powerful enemy, they will be able to free their hands and slowly deal with Emperor Bai Li no matter how strong the opponent is. What if he ranks 9th on the emperor list? Under the siege of many great emperors, even Emperor Ming and Emperor Zhang would suffer from hatred, let alone Emperor Bai Li. Two fellow Taoists are here. With the help of the three of us, we can take action. Emperor Yama spoke. He was sitting on the huge divine tiger, holding a black halberd, crushing the sky, swallowing thousands of miles, and his whole body was blooming with brilliant brilliance. The figures of the two emperors next to him were blurred and could not be seen clearly. In their appearance, one can only see the supreme power, and in their movements, there is an aura that is overwhelming to the world. When these two figures heard the words, they both nodded slightly. Far far away from them, there were several figures standing. These people without exception, they were all great emperors, but they did not participate in the war, but quietly paid attention to everything here. Even if they did nothing, they were still like a huge stone, pressing on the hearts of countless creatures in the purple mystic realm, making them breathless. Come on. The background of the earth immortal realm is too terrifying. Emperor Yunai appeared on their side, and several emperors jumped out of the earth immortal realm. This is too scary. It seems that the emperor does not want money. No one knows, the earth immortal realm has a backhand. There are several great emperors hidden in the fairy world. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 373. Kill. The great Emperor Yan Mo raised his pitch-black halberd and was the first to move, attacking Emperor Yunai. As soon as he made his move, he launched the most powerful attack. At this moment, the power of the boundless emperor swept across, suppressing the eternal blue sky and shattering it. In the past, present and future, this kind of power is too terrifying. In just a moment, even though they are extremely far away from the battlefield, they can feel a terrifying aura. If this person is killed, there will be only one Emperor Bailey left in the Zixuan realm, and he will be unable to survive alone. A great emperor next to him shouted softly. All three great emperors took action. The immortal fairy light bloomed, and the great emperor came to dominate the world. Three figures, like three immortal monuments, crisscrossed the sky and shattered a large area of void. You are too confident. Emperor Yunai scolded, his expression extremely indifferent. He stood in the sky, his body was like a mountain, suppressing the four poles of the universe. Behind him were countless creatures from the purple mystic realm, and in front of him was the boundless earth. Immortal world. Although he has killed many creatures in the earthly immortal realm, it is not enough. During this period, the number of creatures that have fallen in the purple mysterious realm has reached the point of being countless. He is here today. Tooth for tooth, eye for eye. Boom. Emperor Yunai did not hesitate. The glory of the emperor flowed all over his body, shining immortally and cutting through eternity. The whole world is vast, but I am the only one. He held the sky-shaking sword, stepped out, left the chariot, and came to an ancient star. He pressed the button with one hand below, an extremely huge palm fell from the sky. This palm is so vast that it can be called boundless. The stars below are as small as marbles compared to the palm, and the creatures above have reached the point where they are invisible. Not even an ant. You dare! Emperor Yama roared, his long hair standing on end. When he saw Emperor Yunai's movements, his eyes were red and he almost wanted to spit fire. The terrifying murderous intention swept out crazily. That star was their floating cloud mountain. It is a temporary residence. There are many Fuiyun Mountain disciples who came from the earthly immortal realm. If they were killed by Emperor Yunai in one fell swoop, although the fundamentals would not be hurt, some vitality would definitely be lost. Why don't I dare? Emperor Yunai's eyes were filled with astonishing brilliance, and he said firmly, from the moment you stepped into the purple mystic realm, you should have thought of your fate today. After that, he pressed down with 5 fingers, and a loud bang came. A huge star bloomed in the palm of his hand, as if evolving, and was then crushed into powder by the palm of his hand. The creatures above were undoubtedly alive. Court death. Emperor Yan Emo was furious, and his heart was extremely angry. Faced with the siege of the 3 emperors, Emperor Yunai was still so arrogant and dared to attack the forces behind them. He treated the 3 of them as if they were nothing. It was tantamount to cruelty. A hard slap on everyone's face. Boom. The great halberd split into the air, thousands of miles away. Emperor Yama directly waved the great halberd, and it fell down. It was like a pillar of heaven falling down, and a terrifying vision was circulating. Blood spattered, and millions of gods and demons floated corpses. The scene was extremely bloody. A terrifying scene is revealed between heaven and earth. These are the creatures that died under the euphorbia. Now through some means, they have appeared in this world. If I become an immortal in the future, I will definitely defeat Fuiyun Mountain. Emperor Yunai shouted softly, and the voice resounded through the sky. His whole body was glowing, and the chaotic energy was shaken away. His majestic body stood upright, with hair flying, and a pair of eyes as bright as the sun and the moon. Weng's voice. The sky-shattering sword flew out from his hand, and he slashed out with another sword. There were no fancy moves, it was ordinary and unremarkable, as if it were a simple way of doing things. It made the universe and galaxies eclipse. It made the eternal blue sky collapse. Sonorous. A voice like a yellow bell came out, and the immortal sword swept across, and flesh and blood flew across, almost splitting the world into 2, and penetrated into the depths of the earthly immortal world. It was not until several great emperors joined forces that this crisis was resolved. How can it be? Emperor Yama coughed up blood. He was holding a big halberd in one hand, and the other arm was covered with blood. Half of his body was dyed red. He quickly retreated in the void. His eyes were full of horror. The first confrontation. That's it, not only was he at a disadvantage, he was even debated. The wound was not serious, but it could not be healed no matter what. Even the body of the emperor could not heal the wound. It's the sky-shattering sword. Emperor Yan Mo was suddenly stunned and quickly looked at the ancient sword in Emperor Yunai's hand. A hint of fear flashed deep in his eyes. This ancient sword ranked 5th on the imperial weapon list. In terms of ranking, it is not as good as Ludeo. Samsara is not as good as the demon Emperor Bel, but in terms of killing power, even the 6 paths of Samsara cannot compete with the sky-shattering sword. After all, everyone has their own strengths, and the same is naturally true for imperial soldiers. Some imperial soldiers are good at defense, and some are good at defense. He is good at trapping enemies, and there is no doubt that the shocking sky sword was born specifically for killing. After such a long time, the number of emperors who have fallen under the shocking sky sword is no less than 1. Emperor Yama is injured. Very far away from the battlefield, a quasi-emperor of the earthly immortal realm turned pale in shock. Not only him. Even some great saint-level figures discovered this. The emperor's blood flowed across the sky, and the tragic aura escaping, they thought, even if you can't see it. How can this be? A supreme elder-level figure said with a solemn expression, Emperor Yan Mo has a brilliant record, and it is difficult to find an opponent at the same level. How could Emperor Yunai be at a disadvantage in the first confrontation? Could it be said that the Emperor list released by Tianji Tower is really so authoritative that those who are not on the list will not even be able to fight against those who are on the list? First, there is Emperor Ming, who is 2nd on the Emperor list, and then Emperor Yunai, who is 10th on the Emperor list. These 2 emperors are devastating battles against those at the same level. Their opponents are all capable of parrying, and he has no power to fight back. Right now, Emperor Yunai is alone, suppressing the 3 emperors before fighting. He is a member of the Yu clan and is naturally very fast. The 3 emperors cannot catch his shadow, but he relies on the sky-shaking sword left many wounds on the bodies of the 3 great emperors. Each wound was not fatal, but the key point was that it could not be healed. If things go on like this, the only way out for these 3 great emperors would be to fall. It's because of the sky-shattering sword. A quasi-emperor spoke, and he discovered the key point. Although Emperor Yunai is stronger than any of the 3 emperors on the battlefield, he is not so strong as to be crushed. If these 3 emperors, if the injuries can be healed, they cannot end up like this. The 10th on the emperor list, and the 5th on the divine soldier list. The combination of the 2 shows a power that has surpassed most of the great emperors. Someone said solemnly. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 374. Boom. Deafening roars kept coming. The whole sky was shaking. The 4 great emperors were fighting desperately. Endless immortal spirits appeared, green dragons soared, and immortal phoenixes spread their wings. But in the next second, they were beaten to pieces. Nothingness. With the battlefield as the center, everything within a radius of billions of miles began to boil. In this battle, the Emperor ranking and the Imperial Soldier ranking released by Tianji Tower appeared in front of everyone for the first time in an absolutely crushing manner. Before this, although some people were coveting the Imperial soldiers at the top of the Imperial Army list, they had never been so eager. Who would have thought that Emperor Yunai, holding the sky-shattering sword, could actually have the absolute upper hand with 1 against 3? You know. But the 3 emperors of the Earth immortal realm he fought against are all famous in their own worlds. The 3 emperors besieged Emperor Yunai. It can be said that the Earth immortal realm already respects the emperor list very much. But even so, the 3 of them joining forces are still not the opponent of Emperor Yunai. Emperor Yunai has returned, holding the sky-shattering sword. It seems that there is still a glimmer of hope for us in the Zixuan realm. Emperor Biluo is getting old, and his turbid eyes shine with an astonishing splendor. He is covered in blood, but he still does not leave. Emperor Yunai and Emperor Bai Li went to Tianji Tower together. Maybe fellow Taoist Bai Li will become an immortal soon. Beside him, the firstborn emperor said in a deep voice. At this point, the Zixuan realm has already revealed all its details, and the earthly immortal realm has only revealed the tip of the iceberg. At the very least, among those earthly immortal realms, are there any the forces under the control of Shang Zhengxian still have no end? If they take action, Zixuan realm will be defeated with overwhelming force. Therefore, on the side of Zixuan realm, we must wait until Yugzu Palace and other forces take action, and there will be a supreme true realm first. Only by persisting for tens of thousands of years can the Zixuan realm regain its strength. I hope Emperor Yunai can persist for a while longer. A great emperor murmured. In the battlefield of the great emperor, Emperor Yunai holds the sky-shaking sword and strikes it down in the air. He is very brave and can be said to be undefeated at his level. He is chasing an emperor from the earthly immortal world, and no one can stop him. Sonorous. The void shattered. 10,000 Dao laws flew out, like strips of bright feathers, piercing through the universe, boundless, and shot towards an emperor of the earthly immortal world. The sky-shattering sword made of unknown materials was extremely terrifying and lingering. Filled with the energy of chaos, the sharp sword blade can split through all obstacles, its brilliance shines brightly. Poof! In the far distance, in the void, a roar came, which was shocking. It was the anger of a great emperor in the earthly immortal world. His blood was splattering, and his bones were broken again. The scene was extremely horrifying. As a great emperor, have you ever encountered such a catastrophe? This is simply unimaginable. For an invincible person at the same level, to be beaten 1 against 3 and still be at a disadvantage, or even be severely injured, is a great shame and humiliation. Bang! Another loud noise came, and one of the great emperor's arms was cut off. As soon as it fell off, it was cut into nothingness by countless sword rays. Ah! This great emperor was so mad with hatred that his long hair stood on end and roared into the sky. He was covered in blood. There was a misty sword intent lingering in the wound, making it impossible for his imperial body to recover quickly. I want you to die. This great emperor's eyes were red, and he was almost in a state of madness. He was very scary, as if the person who had lost his arm was not him at all. He was madly killing Emperor Yunai. Beside him, an imperial weapon glowed, illuminating mountains and rivers for hundreds of millions of miles, shining in the void, with a supreme aura, crashed down. But that's it? Emperor Yunai sneered. The sky-shaking sword in his hand glowed and shot out a beam of light. This was a sword light that was condensed to the extreme, splitting the universe and slashing out quickly. Boom! 2 terrifying magical powers collided together in the void, making a deafening roar. The sword light passed through, and its remaining power remained unabated. Not good. The emperor looked at the rapidly amplifying sword light in front of him, and something bad arose in his heart. Although he was furious, he did not lose his mind. With his arm already broken, if he was to receive this blow forcefully, there is a high possibility that he will get more injured. Thinking of this, he stepped on his feet and his body turned into a stream of light, and he came thousands of miles away in an instant. At the moment he left, several star fields outside, a huge star turned into a huge firework in the void, and countless creatures on it disappeared. The moment the star exploded, many of the fighting emperors were stunned for a moment. Then, the earthly immortal world on one side, several great emperors had their eyes red. On that star just now, many people belonged to their command, and some of them were their descendants. Now, because of Emperor Yunai's sword, all of them are gone. Do you think you can anger us by doing this? You are wrong. Doing this will only make you fall faster. Emperor Yan Mo spoke, his voice was extremely cold. At their level, few emperors would truly care about their descendants. After all, after countless generations, blood and family ties have become extremely indifferent. All they care about is themselves. Face. Tooth for tooth, blood for blood. Emperor Yunai was boiling with murderous intent, almost condensing into substance. He turned his eyes and saw a huge palace suspended in another void. This was a huge force with many disciples. At this time, most of them came over people. Now that they are being targeted by Emperor Yunai, everyone feels chills running down their spines and feeling like they have fallen into an ice cellar. After all, it is not a good thing to be shrouded in murderous intent by an emperor. When there are countless people, they are so weak that they fall to the ground. Die. Emperor Yunai spat out one word, and his killing intent surged forward like a tide. He made a fist seal with his hand and punched it out at once. In an instant, the immortal light was bright and extremely gorgeous, and it just flooded the entire void, as if it was even the space was locked, no one could leave, no one could enter. The fist mark penetrated everything and fell down. With a bang, countless runes on the palace were destroyed in an instant, and then all living things inside were completely wiped out. Destruction. After conquering this force, Emperor Yunai did not stop, but looked at another place again. There was a dark starry sky with only one big star floating. On the surface of the stars, there were countless soldiers wearing black armor, arrayed to meet the enemy. The underworld. Emperor Yunai's tone was indifferent. He was so cold that he seemed to be able to freeze the universe. And it? There was a soft shout. Emperor Yunai raised the sky-shaking sword in his hand. The sword light was suffocating, and the chaotic sword light cut through it, slashing forward. Boom! In an instant, before the sword light, everything disappeared, and there was nothing to hold onto. It is indestructible and invincible. Even the emperors do not dare to stop it. Everyone looked in the direction of the underworld, with a trace of sympathy flashing in their eyes. With this sword slashed, if Hades did not take action, the army of the underworld would be destroyed. There is no doubt that he will also follow in the footsteps of other forces. And until now, Emperor Hades has not shown his face. It is obvious that Emperor Hades is not here. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 375. Well. In the earthly immortal world, a great emperor sighed. The underworld emperor is too domineering and has almost no allies. Naturally, no one can help in this situation. Even if there is one, he must consider it. The current emperor Yunai is too powerful. No one dares to help. Lift his sword lightly. If you take his sword forcefully, even if you block it, you will still be injured. Boom. The sky and the earth are vast. A huge crack spreads, and the flames are like Wan Yang, cutting off the two realms, dividing heaven and earth, cutting eternity, breaking the imprisonment of time. This is the real sword that kills gods when gods block, and Buddha blocks Buddha. Underworld. On the stars where the army is located, there are many creatures with pale faces. Although they are souls, in a true sense, they have died once. But now, no one can face it calmly if they die again. They understand. If you die once, you will lose everything. There is no chance of reincarnation. Even if the purpose of the underworld is reincarnation, it must have a soul. Without the soul, reincarnation is just empty talk. At the last moment, this star, when it is about to disintegrate, a black curtain hangs down between heaven and earth. To be precise, it is not a black curtain, but a hole in the world. There are cities standing in the middle, and all living beings exist. They have no entity and are all floating on the earth. This is a bleak world, but at the same time it is a world full of new life. It is boundless and terrifying. In the deepest part of this world, the most brilliant brilliance blooms, and among it is a slender and beautiful figure with flowing clothes. Floating, her green hair was like a waterfall. She took one step forward, the sky fell and the earth fell, she crossed the long river of time and came to the purple mysterious realm. Boom. The next moment, she raised one hand, green as jade, and grabbed the sword light. With a clang, the sword light burst out between the sky and the earth like a rainbow, lighting up the boundless starry sky and shaking the ages. Everyone has it. I lost my mind for a moment. I couldn't believe what I saw before me. Emperor of Hades. I don't know who it was, said softly. Not long ago. Emperor Ming fought 1 against 4, forcing Emperor Belugo of the Zixuan realm to use the strongest blow, but it didn't hurt her. In the end, he invaded the Zixuan realm. A large territory. Just the name of Emperor Underworld made all the people in the Zixuan realm almost breathless. Now, after a few days, she appeared again. Her style is still the same, as before, domineering, cold and extremely decisive when taking action. It is not the same as other great emperors, even more so. In the past few days, Hades' emperor disappeared, and no one knew where she went. But many people had guesses in their hearts, and stepped into Zixuan after the world. Apart from going to the Tianji Tower, there is nothing else that can attract the attention of Emperor Hades. Some quasi-emperors may not be able to cross the purple mystic realm. But for the emperor, this is not a problem at all. If they want to leave, no one will stop them. You can live with it. At this time, many people are curious about what Emperor Hades has obtained and what changes he has undergone. After all, few people go to Tianji Tower and return empty-handed. Emperor of Hades. Emperor Yunai whispered, full of fighting spirit. He had just fought 1 against 3, with the power of victory, and his power was unparalleled. Now he wants to see how strong the second emperor on the list is. And he is the emperor. 10th on the list. How far behind is the second place? In the past, there was no chance. But today, the opportunity came to my door. Fight! Emperor Yunai shouted softly, pointing the sword edge towards the sky. His hair was flying, and the roots were shining brightly. His eyes were as deep as Wan Yang. He took the lead to move. In his hand, he struck forward with the sky-shaking sword. This is a figure at the pinnacle of the great emperor struck with all his strength, showing his speed and power to the extreme. That scene was unimaginable and more terrifying than the creation of the world. Behind him, a divine bird raised its head, fluttering its wings and ready to fly. Its wings were like the clouds hanging from the sky are boundless, with eyes like the sun and moon, hanging in the sky, covering a large area of stars. This is the true body of Emperor Yunai. Although it is a phantom, it still has supreme power, which shocks people. Boom! In the battlefield of the great emperor, Emperor Hades scolded, and the sun, moon, and stars were destroyed. What she exerted was the power of reincarnation, which surpassed all the magic of time. Boom! 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 Two figures collided in the void. The terrifying aftermath swept through countless star fields. Large swaths of stars dimmed, and the entire Zixuan realm seemed to be destroyed. Imperial War. This is beyond the battle between the ordinary emperors. It is not only the war between the Underworld Emperor and the Yunai Emperor, but also the grievances between the Zixuan realm and the earthly immortal realm. It is also a battle of rankings on the Emperor list. In the past, most people saw the battles on the genius list. Although the battle is exciting, for some older people, it is just a show. The range of the battle is only 1,000 miles. But now, this is a battle above the Emperor list. Either of these two emperors, with every move, can shatter a vast star field, enough to destroy billions of living beings. The second on the Emperor list and the 10th on the Emperor list, this battle is probably enough to go down in history. In the earthly immortal world, a great emperor said softly. They understood that the two great emperors have reached the top of the great emperor realm, and their own potential has been tapped to the limit. If they take another step forward, they will become true immortals. It can be said that if these two people are, no one will die after this battle. The next time we fight, it will be in the realm of true immortals. Not only is it a battle on the Emperor's list, it is also a battle on the Emperor's weapon list. The 6 paths of reincarnation and the sky-shattering sword are both at the top of the Emperor's weapon list. After this battle, I'm afraid everyone will understand. In the Imperial War, Imperial weapons are more than just weapons. An ancient emperor said softly. Emperor Yunai is indeed very powerful, but without the help of the sky-shattering sword, even if he can defeat the 3 emperors of the earthly immortal realm, he will not be able to win so easily. That's right. Because of the existence of the sky-shattering sword, the 3 great emperors were in such a hurry that they could not even recover from their own injuries. The more they fought, the weaker their strength was. In the end, if Hades had not taken action, the 3 of them would have perished. No problem. Regardless of the imperial soldier ranking or the imperial ranking, the number of people on the list in our Earth immortal realm far exceeds that in the Zixuan realm. No matter how hard they struggle, they cannot avoid defeat. Emperor Yan Emo returned. He held a big halberd and spoke in a dull voice. He looked at Emperor Yunai with a trace of undisguised murderous intent in his eyes. Even now, although he has left the battlefield, his injuries are still intact. He was recovering and even getting worse. The sword intent left in the wound was eroding his imperial body. If the sword intent could not be dispelled in time, it might even damage the foundation. Thinking of this, he could hardly suppress the killing intent and thought of joining the battlefield. But thinking about his injuries and the strength now bursting out from Emperor Yunai and Emperor Ming, he backed down again and waited until he refined the inheritance of the Fang family. He would have to fight against Emperor Yunai. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 376. Kill. In the Zixuan realm, Emperor Hades and Emperor Yunai fought against each other. In the battlefield where the 2 of them were, there were countless divine chains of order intertwined and entangled together. Billions of beams of light bloomed, each of which could cut through the universe and become eternity. The fierce battle was extremely terrifying. This battle can be said to have shocked the 3 realms and shocked all living beings. Emperor Yunai is the pinnacle figure among the emperors. He has long stood at the pinnacle of the powerful, and the Ming dynasty opposite him. The emperor was a late talent, with a short period of only 100,000 years, but he came from behind. The fight between the 2 was very cruel. In a short period of time, Emperor Hades had gradually gained the upper hand. Although Emperor Yunai was evenly matched with the opponent, it is almost impossible to lose in a short time. This must be a protracted battle. Boom. The underworld emperor's clothes were flying, his palms were glowing, and he just slapped it out with one palm. The power of the palm penetrated the boundless starry sky, causing the sky to explode, and countless Dao fell down and condensed together. Delivered the most powerful blow. Rules the preface and the avenue roar together, extremely brilliant. Worthy of being second on the emperor list. Emperor Yunai's pupils shrank, and he let out a loud roar. He waved the sky-shattering sword and soared into the sky. Even the Dharma body behind him was shaking together. The huge Dharma appearance crashed into the universe. Clang! 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 Billions of sword lights bloomed, which was too dazzling. It was like reopening the world. It was Emperor Yunai's way to become an emperor, and it was also his original secret technique. On his body, it seemed that he was covered with a layer of gorgeous wings, turning into a god. Birds spread their wings and soar, covering the void, with almost no edge visible. The entire void is crowded. A kind of pressure that is terrifying to the extreme is escaping. Buzz. The wings transformed by Emperor Unai swept across the void. They were sword wings, transformed from sword light, covering his body, shooting out endless sword light, densely packed. He shook lightly, and hundreds of millions of sword lights transformed into a long and turbulent river has formed, and the heaven and earth will be completely cut apart. Boom! There was a loud noise. Along with the wails of the heaven and earth, an extremely terrifying wave spread, and a bloody light bloomed in it, illuminating a small half of the universe. The void and the stars in the sky and the earth were all reflected in bright red. There seemed to be a burst of blood sun, and the red light occupied half of the sky. During the fight between Emperor Hades and Emperor Unai, one of the first people was injured. Immediately, many emperors looked over, with solemn expressions on their faces. The blood of this great emperor had unparalleled power, and the star field was destroyed. The galaxy was dim, and was annihilated into nothingness. At this moment, the universe seemed to have stopped, falling into a death-like tranquility, without any sound, and everything withered. Whose blood is that? This is a living question. Boom! Suddenly. In the next moment, blood light penetrated the 9th level of the sky. The Emperor's fluctuations shocked the world. The endless blood light and the miserable red clouds all began to flow backwards, and turned around in an instant, condensing into a human figure. There was a loud bang. As if there was a chaos demon god who reopened the world and broke free from the long river of time. The fluctuations of life reached the extreme. The stars in the sky were shaking endlessly. Ranked second on the emperor list, his reputation is well deserved. To be ranked second by the senior master of TNG building, it is true that there are no deceitful people under the great reputation. A thick voice came. Countless people heard the sound and looked over. Very far away. Emperor Unai had a majestic body, strong blood, and thick hair flying around. He looked like a demon god. His strength was still at its peak, but however, most of his clothes were broken. If you have a keen eye, you can vaguely see that he has injuries deep enough to the bone, and he is recovering quickly. After a breath, his injuries were completely restored, and even his clothes were restored to their original state. That emperor's blood just now was Emperor Unai. On the Zixuan realm side, many people felt a chill in their hearts. As powerful as Emperor Unai, isn't he a match for Emperor Ming? How can we fight this? Even if Emperor Bai Li comes, he probably won't be able to do it. After all, Emperor Bai Li is only one rank higher than Emperor Unai, but he is still far away from Emperor Ming. It seems the outcome has been decided. Emperor Yan Mo chuckled. Just now, he was pressed down and beaten by Emperor Unai. He was in danger several times and almost lost his temper. Now that he saw Emperor Unai defeated, he felt very happy. It's hard to say. Beside Emperor Yama, a man covered in black mist shook his head. His eyes were burning, like 2 rounds of blood sun, and he said in a deep voice. The body of the great emperor is difficult to kill and can be reborn with blood. Although Emperor Netherworld can defeat Emperor Unai, it is impossible to kill him. And Emperor Hades does not have the sky-shattering sword in his hand. Emperor Unai can quickly recover from his injuries. If the fight continues, there will be no winner in a year or two. It's Emperor Hades. The man, who was shrouded in black mist, had a flash of doubt in his eyes, and said softly, "It's a little weird." Oh? Emperor Yan Mo was puzzled, frowned, and asked, what did fellow Taoist find? Others don't know who this man shrouded in black mist is, but Emperor Yan Mo knows very well that this person is the 6th ranked being on the emperor list. His strength is stronger than Emperor Unai. Even if Emperor Unai holds the sky-shaking sword in his hand, he may not be his opponent. The reason why he has been watching the battle and not making a move is because the current Zixuan world is about to be defeated, and he can't make a move. Not big. Against a few mediocre emperors, his ability cannot be revealed. Even if he takes action, The enemies must be Emperor Bai Li and Emperor Yunai. Now that Emperor Yunai is fighting against Ming Emperor, he will naturally be fine. Emperor Hades seems to want a quick victory. The man, covered in black mist, whispered to himself. Is it? Emperor Yan Emo raised his brows slightly and said indifferently, this is a good thing. Emperor Hades behaves in a ruthless and decisive manner. It is reasonable for her to want a quick victory. Once Emperor Yunai is defeated, the remaining Emperor Bai Li will be unable to survive alone. At that time, if fellow Taoist takes action, it shouldn't be difficult to kill a person ranked 9th on the Emperor ranking. It's not true. The man, covered in black mist, thought in his mind and said softly, the underworld emperor disappeared for a while before. If my guess is correct, he probably went to Tianji Tower. Now she wants to make a quick decision, and it is very possible that she got some news in the Tianji Tower. Well. Emperor Yan Mo's face froze and he said dryly, according to fellow Taoist, Emperor Hades went to Tianji Tower too. As expected, it should be to become an immortal. The man covered in black mist said word by word. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 377. Become an immortal. Emperor Yama took a breath. He looked back at Emperor Ming, and his heart was full of shock, but then he thought about it. It seemed that this was the only possibility for Emperor Ming to go to Tianji Tower. She was listed on the Emperor list. Second, above her, there is only one person, Emperor Zhangtian. And Emperor Zhangtian is currently missing. His strength is probably only known to the owner of Tianji Tower, but judging from the fact that the other party dares to destroy a world, Zhangtian the Emperor is estimated to be very close to the realm of true immortality. Many of the beings on the Emperor's list have extinguished their desire to compete. At this moment, the 10 people on the Emperor's list are all thinking about how to enter the realm of true immortality. Could it be said that, will the Emperor be one step ahead of everyone and become an immortal first? Boom! The terrifying aftermath spread. The battle is still going on. The power of reincarnation splits the world and becomes more powerful, illuminating the universe and dazzling the eyes. Although there is a gap between the 9th on the Emperor's list and the 2nd on the Emperor's list, this gap is not too big. Even Emperor Hades couldn't defeat Emperor Yunai, who was holding the sky-shattering sword, in a short time. On the other hand, Emperor Yunai also noticed that Emperor Hades wanted to fight quickly. Although he didn't know why the other party thought so, as long as he holds the opponent back, he can definitely ruin the opponent's good deeds. This is Emperor Yunai's plan. No matter what, he will not let the opponent get away and plans to fight until the last moment. Zheng. 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 The chaotic sword energy surged freely. There was a dazzling scene between the two, all drowned by the sword light. Emperor Yunai is like a divine bird, carrying sword wings on his back. When his wings vibrate, the heavens will be split and everything will be chopped open. The Emperor of Hades is like a black sun, extremely deep, covering all the worlds, with wisps of ink-colored brilliance shining out, everywhere, cold to the bone, killing everything. Puff. A few days later, Emperor Yunai was injured again. His shoulder was bleeding, and he was pierced by a ray of light. It was clear from the front and back. It was a decisive blow. If he had not dodged quickly, the head that had been pierced just now was the head. Even the Emperor, having his head pierced, was a serious injury. At that time, whether his soul could be saved or not was a matter of choice. Fellow Taoist Yunai. Ancestor. In the Zixuan realm, some emperors screamed, and even the descendants of Emperor Yunai lost their voices. Their vision was limited and they could not see Emperor Yunai's plans. They only knew that in the past few days, the injuries on Emperor Yunai's body had accumulated. Quite a bit. It's all supported by the powerful Emperor's body. If he continues to fight like this, I'm afraid Emperor Yunai will completely fall. Don't worry, fellow Taoist Yunai has his own plans. Emperor Biluo spoke. There was a little bit of starlight in his turbid eyes. It was very bright, as if he could see through the past, present, and future. It was unfathomable. With the comfort of such an ancient emperor, the Zixuan world gradually calmed down. Time flies. 3 months passed quickly. On the great emperor's battlefield, there was still boundless terror, and the extremely powerful aftermath was like a tidal wave, sweeping away one after another. It makes people dare not take a step beyond the limits. Your road is over. 3 months later, Emperor Hades spoke for the first time. There was no joy or anger in his voice, only boundless indifference, extremely cold, which made people shudder. The master of Tianji once said that he will be in a year's time become an immortal. But what she never thought was that she actually wasted 3 months on the battlefield in the Zixuan realm. It would be impossible not to be angry, but after being in a high position for a long time, she would not reveal her anger easily. Emotions. Only a quick victory can reverse the situation. In the remaining few months, she still has time to get the opportunity and quickly become a true immortal. Is it? Emperor Yunai fought hard with Emperor Hades. His body was shaken violently. As if he was hit hard, his body quickly retreated in the void, spilling a series of Emperor's blood. Now, he has almost reached his limit. There are cracks everywhere in his body. Even the Emperor's body is about to lose its hold. The injuries on his body are recovering very slowly and will soon be exhausted. On the other hand, the Hades Emperor is as before, as if he has not been affected much, and his momentum is still as strong as before. Always consistent, revealing an invincible style. This battle. The two fought until the edge of the universe collapsed, the stars turned into powder, and even spread to the earthly fairy world, but it still did not end. Go to hell. Underworld Emperor spoke. Under her feet, a pitch-black world expanded, spreading crazily in all directions. In this world, there was no life and no light. Some were filled with endless darkness, and there were still huge corpses. Some corpses even bigger than a star field. Deep in this world, there seems to be a huge millstone, rumbling and turning, exuding the aura of world destruction. Just a wisp of energy makes the hair on the body stand on end. Boom! Blood-colored thunder crashed down in this world. For a moment, the sky collapsed, ghosts cried, and gods howled, and various horrific and strange events occurred. A rain of blood poured down from the sky and covered the earth, seeming to melt everything. In the rain curtain, you can vaguely see endless soldiers standing in it, exuding overwhelming evil aura. These soldiers are not entities, not even souls. Instead, they are a mark, as if they are an extremely ancient terrifying force that revived to this world before eons of time, suppressing takes one's breath away. What's this? Reincarnation. Wrong. This is a supreme force. It seems that it is not the original body, but just a projection. Emperor Yunai looked at the scene in front of him and took a breath of cold air. This was the first time he heard the name of the underworld. Before this, he had never understood the underworld at all. But today, after taking a peek, we can see the whole picture. This underworld is definitely not what it seems. Simple. These projections alone are definitely not a spectacle that can be seen in the earthly immortal realm. The soldiers inside are too terrifying, and the weakest among them is also at the level of a great saint. Just take one out and it can overwhelm an entire star field. Inside among the slightly more powerful leaders, there are many powerful emperors. Is this the kind of information that the earthly immortal realm can bring out? As for the most powerful people among those soldiers, even Emperor Yunai cannot tell the difference. I am afraid they must be true immortals. Or someone more terrifying than a true immortal. What kind of force is the underworld? Emperor Yunai's eyes were straightened. He scanned the scene of the dark world, and he didn't care much anymore. It was enough to delay Emperor Hades for 3 months. The other party has already used his trump card. If he doesn't leave, I'm afraid I really can't leave. I'm 9th on the Emperor list. I can tell you that I'm very strong, but I'm not immortal. I'm pulled into that black world. I probably won't be able to hold on for too long. Walk. Thinking of this, Emperor Unai put away the sky-shattering sword and directly transformed into his true body. A divine bird stretching for tens of thousands of miles appeared, with its wings spread out. It was even bigger than some stars. His wings shook, causing a wave of waves. A huge force of wind turned into a stream of light and rushed towards the sky. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 378. Did Emperor Unai of Zixuan realm escape? In the earthly fairy world, many creatures looked at the scene that happened in the sky. Many people looked at the Hades Emperor with hope, but in the end they were disappointed. The Hades Emperor seemed to have no intention of pursuing him. She dressed with his sleeves fluttering, he stood in the sky, like a banished immortal descending into the world, unstained by the world, his cold eyes scanning the heavens, no one dared to look at him. Invisibly, there was an unparalleled domineering power escaping. 3 months. Emperor Ming casually glanced at the direction Emperor Unai left. She withdrew her gaze and looked up at the sky, as if she saw an invisible hand controlling her destiny. This was the first time she had encountered this feeling of powerlessness. She was like a puppet that could be manipulated by others. Every step she took was as expected by the owner of Tianji. Was Emperor Unai's attack also within the expectations of the owner of Tianji? Destiny is not unchanging. Underworld Emperor retracted his eyes gradually became firmer, as if the Supreme Emperor walked out of the underworld, his breath covered the heavens, making the world collapse, and there was a suffocating power wave spreading. This emperor firmly believes that man can conquer heaven. Du Ziren. The Emperor of Hades spoke. Subordinates, pay homage to the emperor. A man wearing armor strode forward, came not far away, knelt on one knee on the ground, and said respectfully. His expression was very respectful, and his aura was not weak. He had reached the pinnacle of quasi-emperor cultivation. He is only one step away from the emperor. He is a member of the underworld who joined the underworld a long time ago. Now he is in an important position. The underworld has closed the mountains for 1 year. Within 1 year, no weapons can be used to maintain the current territory. If there are invading enemies, you can control the 6 paths of reincarnation and kill them. The Emperor of Hades opened his mouth and commanded. Emperor. Du Ziren was puzzled. At present, the underworld is in a state of overwhelming power. After entering the Zixuan realm, it has occupied a large area. Now that the Emperor has defeated Emperor Unai, it is a good opportunity for the underworld to grow again. Why did the Emperor want to close the mountain? In this way, wouldn't hell have missed a golden opportunity? 1 year. It's not too long to say it's long, and it's not too short to say it's short. Judging from the background of the terrifying forces in the Earth Immortal realm, it will be enough to completely defeat the Purple Xian realm within 1 year. By then, the division of forces will be complete, and it will be difficult for the underworld to even drink soup. Do as I say. Underworld Emperor did not explain too much. She had a premonition that in the near future, a new true immortal would appear. In this frontal battlefield, without the true immortal joining the situation, a true immortal suddenly appeared. That would break the balance of the entire battlefield. As the first force to step into the Zixuan realm, Hades would most likely bear the brunt of the impact and be affected if there were no true immortal to suppress the formation. She could protect herself, but whether the underworld could survive would not matter. That's easy to say. Yes. Du Ziren reluctantly accepted the order. No matter how much confusion he had in his heart, he could only suppress it temporarily. As for asking, he didn't have the courage. After saluting, Duziran raised his head again. The emperor in front of him had disappeared at some point. Missing. As for where she went, no one knows. Call. Aside of Zixuan realm, countless people breathed a sigh of relief. Just now, watching Emperor Yunai leave the battlefield, countless people's hearts were in doubt. They could see that Emperor Yunai had been severely damaged, and Emperor Ming still had some spare strength. If Emperor Hades takes this opportunity to launch a massive attack on the Zixuan realm, they may not be able to stop it. The good thing is, the Underworld Emperor did not step into the Purple Xian realm, but disappeared into the void. No one knew where she went. The Underworld Emperor did not take action, which was a blessing in misfortune. At least, for now, the Zixuan side could barely maintain the situation. Although they are still losing ground, but for a while, there is no need to worry, the whole world is under the control of the earthly fairy world. Even Emperor Yunai was defeated. Is this Emperor Netherworld really invincible in the Imperial realm? Some people are disappointed. Even the Supreme Immortal of the Earth Immortal realm has not come forward. Just one Underworld Emperor will make them breathless. They have almost no hope for the future. Many people are about to give up. We have one last glimmer of hope. Great Emperor Bilugo spoke, and his old body glanced behind him. There was a vast star field. He understood that Emperor Bailey might be in a certain corner of the universe at this moment, waiting for the opportunity to become an immortal. It might be now, or it might be in the next second, a true immortal of his own will be born in the Zixuan realm. Emperor Bailey. Someone said softly. Since the integration of the earthly immortal world, no news has been received from Emperor Bailey. Some emperors have begun to despair. After all, becoming an immortal is not just talk. There are not a few who died on the road to Chongguan. Good. The great Emperor Bilugo nodded and said slowly, the great Emperor Yunai and the great Emperor Bailey went to Tianji Tower together. Now that the great Emperor Yunai has appeared, I think fellow Taoist Bailey will be coming back soon. Emperor Yunai took the sky-shaking sword, but Emperor Bailey wanted to become an immortal. The difficulty of the two was not at the same level. Some other great emperors shook their heads. Fellow Taoist Bailey is ranked 9th on the emperor list. There is no need to say much about his own background. His hope of becoming an immortal is still relatively high. The emperor, who was the first to be rebellious, spoke. He hasn't finished speaking yet. Boom. A loud noise shook the heavens. Thunderbolts fell from the clear sky, and huge lightning crossed the sky, piercing the tranquility of the world, shaking the vast universe, and making people horrified. At this moment, not only the earthly immortal world, but also the purple, there are supremely powerful people in the Xian realm and even the distant Tianyuan realm. As if they sensed something, they all looked towards the earthly immortal realm. What happened? Everyone was stunned. On the border between the earthly immortal realm and the Zixuan realm, the war was still going on. The moment the thunderbolt sounded, everyone from the emperor to ordinary creatures stopped moving. They turned to look at the ground. Direction of fairy world. Is this a thunderstorm? Who is going through the tribulation? This doesn't seem to be the emperor's tribulation. If someone becomes the emperor, how can the power of thunder affect the two borders? This is indeed not the emperor's tribulation, it seems to be the catastrophe of becoming an immortal. Become an immortal? Our earthly immortal world is going to have another supreme true immortal. In the immortal world, countless creatures were confused, looking at the thunder in the sky, and they were a little confused about the situation, but this did not prevent them from being happy. After all, there is a true immortal in my world, which is a good thing. But this matter, to the Zixuan realm, is no less than a leak in the house when it rains all night long. They were about to be unable to hold on, but at this moment, someone in the immortal realm actually became an immortal. How to fight this? The family's last glimmer of hope was that Emperor Baili had not become an immortal for a long time. Instead, one of the earthly immortal realms took the lead. This was to force them to a dead end. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 379. How can it be? The great Emperor Biluo, who was full of confidence just now. Suddenly, his body shook, and he looked at the earthly immortal world in disbelief. A pair of old eyes opened, filled with horror. No one understands becoming an immortal better than him. Difficult. No one understands better than him what a true immortal means to the Zixuan realm. This is the danger of annihilation. Originally, in his vision, the Zixuan realm only needs one true immortal to be born. To turn the situation around, who would have thought that the person who became an immortal at this juncture was not from the Zixuan realm? Instead, he came from their mortal enemy, the earthly immortal realm. How could the foundation of the earthly immortal realm be so terrifying? At this moment, even the firstborn emperor was dumbfounded. He never expected that there would be another true immortal in the earthly immortal world. They were already showing a crushing attitude. One more true immortal, isn't it going to directly overthrow the Zixuan realm? Huge thunder and lightning struck down, and the terrifying light shone in the void, making all the creatures in the Zixuan realm look white and their hands and feet were cold. Many creatures were shivering, even if they were separated from each other. Having traveled so far, the power of the true immortal spreads over. This kind of power is like a blue dragon above the 9 heavens, looking down at the ants in the world. Just the natural aura that escapes is not something that ordinary people can resist. Boom! The terrifying thunder, like fairy light, illuminated the dark and cold universe, and the vast starry sky was trembling. Under the boundless clouds of calamity, there was a figure like a god and demon, standing with his head held high. Facing Kenyu, with red hair flying, standing in the thunder. To become an emperor and to become an immortal, both need to overcome tribulations. But the difference of one level is like a chasm. This is not only an improvement in strength, but also a leap in life level. After all, the great emperor is the emperor of the human world. But the true immortal has the word immortal with him. One foot has already stepped on the threshold of eternal life, and his longevity will not dry up for millions of years. Boom! The calamity clouds are falling all over the sky, making people feel suffocated even if they are hundreds of millions of miles away. What is even more terrifying is that this calamity cloud is still spreading with no sign of stopping. No one knows that this time he will become an immortal. How terrifying is the calamity! Lightning and thunder. In the sky of the universe, countless thunderbolts are densely packed and intertwined, turning into dragons and snakes, shaking their heads and tails, and crashing down. White-hot lightning flashes across the void, illuminates eternity, and every living being can see that majestic living being, fighting against the heavenly calamity. Boom! Another loud noise came. In the midst of the catastrophe, a red thunderbolt struck down, carrying an aura of destruction, and hit the figure below. This scene silenced countless people. Sky, damn it! Earthly immortal realm. A great emperor lost his voice. They have already seen that this creature who has overcome the tribulation is extraordinary, but who would have thought that the catastrophe is actually mixed with divine punishment? This person who became an immortal, what exactly have you done? How could you attract divine punishment? This person's strength is extremely terrifying. I am not as good as him. Beside Emperor Yan Mo, a man covered in black mist spoke. Under the black mist, his face was extremely solemn, and his eyes were looking at the calamity without blinking. He wanted to find out who the person who had overcome the calamity was. Fellow Taoist, these words don't seem to come from you. Emperor Yama spoke. He and the emperor in front of him have known each other for many years, and they know each other's tempers well. He knows that this fellow Taoist is arrogant. He basically doesn't put a few people at the same level. In his eyes, the only people who can barely give him a high look are those on the imperial list who are ranked higher than him. Could it be Emperor Tai? Emperor Yama seemed to have thought of something and said. The strength of Emperor Hades is definitely better than that of this fellow Taoist next to him, but Emperor Hades just left, and even if he teleports there now, it is impossible to go directly to the depths of the immortal realm. At this moment, it seems that only Emperor Tai and others agree with the conditions for becoming an immortal. And Emperor Tai is ranked third on the emperor list. There is no doubt that he may have the highest chance of becoming an immortal in the earthly immortal world. Not quite. The man shrouded in black mist shook his head slightly and said softly, I once had a relationship with Emperor Tai, and I know his aura. This person definitely cannot be Emperor Tai. Moreover, Emperor Tai's whereabouts were secretive and he almost ignored the secular world. He went smoothly on the road to becoming an emperor and never committed any crimes. If he becomes an immortal, he will definitely not attract divine punishment. This is strange. If it's not Emperor Tai, then who else in our immortal world has this qualification? Emperor Yama fell into deep thought. Emperor Ming met the conditions, but Emperor Ming left less than a quarter of an hour ago, and the person who became the emperor was obviously a man, so he was definitely not Emperor Ming. Could it be said that in our earthly immortal realm, there is a supreme emperor who even the master of Tianji Tower has failed to calculate? Yama Emperor continued. If he is stronger than the fellow Taoist in front of him, he will definitely be able to step onto the emperor list, and it will only be the top few, but after several times, all the emperors in their immortal world have agreed to the conditions. This is a bit strange. There seems to be something wrong with the divine punishment this man has caused. The man covered in black mist, his eyes like torches, piercing the void, said softly, the power of this divine punishment seems a bit weak. The Emperor Yama was startled. What the hell is this? Once the heavenly punishment appears, it will definitely kill a certain creature. But the current heavenly punishment is not powerful enough, so there is only one meaning. Heavenly Deo believes that this person is a certain threat, but you can't threaten yourself, so you give some warnings. Then why, people who have become immortals before have never heard of divine punishment? Unless this creature once did something outrageous and resentful. Thinking of this, a milky white jade slip appeared in Emperor Yama's hand. He took a closer look at the contents and felt something bad in his heart. Fellow Taoist, do you think this person who became an immortal might not be a creature of our immortal world? What's the meaning? The creature covered in black mist frowned and looked at him with a puzzled expression. Fellow Taoist said just now that this person is stronger than you. It is obvious that this person will definitely not be Emperor Bai Li of the Purple Xian realm. Emperor Yan Mo said. Although no one can be sure that Emperor Bai Li wants to become an immortal, this fact has almost been acquiesced in the hearts of all the emperors. Since he is not Emperor Bai Li of the Zixuan realm, and is stronger than his Taoist friends, there are only 5 people on the emperor list. Excluding the underworld emperor, 3 of the remaining 4 belong to the earthly immortal realm. If the great emperor of our immortal realm becomes an immortal, there is no chance that we will not be able to recognize him. So, Emperor Yama's voice paused, and he said that now, the only remaining person is almost ready to come out. Number 1 on the emperor list, the buried emperor. The man, covered in black mist, slowly uttered a few words. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 380. Senior. Zixuan Realm. On the edge of the universe. A great emperor, with a happy face. He held a jade slip in his hand, which contained a piece of news that had just been sent back from the Tianyuan realm. "What's the matter?" The great Emperor Belugo's expression remained unabated, and his old eyes were full of worry. "Happy event. Great news." The great Emperor said quickly, "Just now, the Emperor list released by the Senior Master Tianji has changed." "Oh. Emperor Belugo is not a fool. There are only two possibilities for changes in the Emperor list. One is that the Emperor on the Emperor list has fallen, and the other is that someone has become an immortal and given up his original position. There are only 10 people on the Emperor list. Of the quotas, 9 of them are divided between the Zixuan realm and the earthly immortal realm. As for the first-ranked Zongtian Emperor, he has now disappeared and is automatically ignored by all of them. Now, in these two realms, all the emperors ranked, even if the emperor on the list has not come to the battlefield, at least he is watching here. They are at the forefront of the battlefield. If the emperor on the list falls, they will be the first to know the news. Now they have not received the news. Then there is only one possibility left: someone has become an immortal." He glanced at the creatures in the earthly immortal world who were going through the tribulation, and thought of the changes in the emperor's list. As if there was a big stone pressing on his heart, he asked, "Which emperor in the earthly immortal world has become an immortal?" "Not the great emperor of the earthly immortal realm." The emperor who got the news had a strange look on his face and said softly, "The heaven burial emperor from the blood demon realm, his name disappeared from the emperor list." Emperor Belugo was shocked. He turned around quickly and asked quickly, "Is this true?" "The emperor zombie." These 4 words also carry a kind of demonic nature. In terms of oppression, they are even more terrifying than the underworld emperor. After all, the underworld emperor only wants to expand his sphere of influence. But the emperor zombie dares to destroy an entire world. A ruthless person. If he becomes an immortal, it will be a disaster rather than a blessing for any world. After all, no one knows what he thinks. If he also joins the battle, there will be no need to struggle in the Zixuan realm. After all, the buried emperor being alone, he can do whatever he wants. Except for the owner of Tianji, no one can threaten him, and no one can easily kill him. But for now, the great emperor burying heaven became an immortal, which can be regarded as a blessing among the misfortunes in the Zixuan realm. At least it's not the emperor of the earthly immortal world who has become an immortal. The zombie emperor is full of uncertainties. Since he has chosen to become an immortal in the earthly immortal realm, it is the earthly immortal realm that should have a headache now, not their Zixuan realm. It is easy to ask God but difficult to send God away. Many people are quite familiar with this matter. Absolutely true. The great emperor nodded decisively. The buried emperor became an immortal in the earthly immortal realm. It is estimated that no one would have thought about this. When the senior master of the Tianji building personally suppressed him, who would have thought that the senior master of the Tianji building would release him again? Such a lawless existence would be fine if he had not become an immortal, but now that he has become an immortal, even in the earthly immortal world, he must be treated with caution. A great emperor of the Zixuan realm said happily. After so many days, the Zixuan realm has been retreating steadily, and every creature is holding a breath in its heart. The appearance of Emperor Unai before gave them some depression. Now the Emperor Zombie became an immortal, which made them feel extremely happy. Good. The burying emperor is already number 1 on the emperor list. If he becomes an immortal, his strength should not be underestimated. A great emperor echoed softly. I just don't know when our Zixuan realm will be able to give birth to a supreme true immortal of our own. As soon as this sentence came out, many people's expressions froze, and everyone glanced deep into the Zixuan realm. To this day, there is still no clue about Emperor Baili becoming an immortal. But counting the days, it should be soon. Boom. In the earthly immortal world, thunder spread, covering a vast land. In the sky, calamity clouds rolled, and thunder filled the sky, turning into real dragons. The power of the dragons filled the air, making all creatures in the earthly immortal world tremble. Howl! Everyone really heard the roar of the dragon. Several large dragons emerged from the sea of thunder. Their bodies were covered with dense blue dragon scales. Their bodies were as strong as mountains, like a great wall, pressing down. The thunder tribulation transformed into a human form, just like a real dragon resurrected. Is this the power of the immortal tribulation? The infinite creatures were shocked. Even if they were far apart, they were all trembling. Every hair on their hair stood on end. Those dragons were too real. It was as if they were created by heaven out of thin air, turning decay into magic. Their divine power was astonishing. Jushin, Zyajin Juyo, everyone's scalp was numb. The green true dragon hovered, opened its mouth, stretched out its claws, and pounced on the tribulation creatures below, trying to completely destroy them. This was a test, it is a test of heaven. If you can survive, you will become an immortal, if you cannot survive, you will become dust. Either life or death, there is no third way. The Burial Emperor has a majestic body, with red hair hanging loosely, his body is shining with treasure, and the blood in his body is it made a sound like a roaring mountain and a tsunami, washing away his flesh and blood. This was a kind of transformation and a kind of sublimation. Yes, there was a hint of fanaticism in his eyes, looking up to the sky, taking it all seriously. 9 generations of accumulation, a lifetime. His long-cherished wish came true today. No one can understand his feelings, and no one can understand his urgency to become an immortal. Break. The zombie emperor soared into the sky, with immeasurable light blooming from his body, shattering the starry sky. Many stars were turned into powder, like a god of war, unstoppable. Countless people were shocked by such power. There was actually someone who was growing up. When immortal, he didn't sacrifice any magic weapon and just resisted, that's all. But the Burial Emperor rushed into the heavenly tribulation. He wanted to directly break the heavenly tribulation. You know, this is the calamity of becoming an immortal. If they knew that the most powerful weapon refined by the Burial Emperor had turned into the secret points in Li Yun's hands, that would be another matter. In the earthly immortal world, someone took a breath of cold air and said in horror, this great emperor's combat power is enough to shock the world. If he becomes an immortal, he will definitely not be the weakest one. Now, the matter of Tianji Tower has not yet spread completely in the earthly immortal world. Many low-level cultivators are still talking about who this person who became an immortal is. After all, in their opinion, someone who becomes an immortal in the earthly immortal world must be the emperor of the earthly immortal world. But in the eyes of the senior officials in the earthly immortal world, it was different. He knows more information, and many terrifying figures have already guessed the identity of the person who has overcome the tribulation from clues. Now the Burial Emperor is showing more and more bravery and invincibility. Then his future threat will be greater. Will the war extend to the immortal world? In a mysterious space, there is an old man in purple robes sitting cross-legged. He has white hair and white beard, a thin face, and is wearing a Taoist robe. There are thousands of golden lotuses around him, like a peaceful fairyland. There is the sound of the great Dao Tianyin. There was a clanking sound. He opened and closed his eyes, piercing the void, and his eyes fell on the tribulation. Deep in his eyes, there was a hint of solemnity inadvertently.